Are we ready to start? After you.
Hi, I'm Dina Stewart.
And I'm Stuart Stewart.
And we're alive on South Beach.
A show with a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
We had a wonderful time this week. We went to the International Miami Book Fair. And at the fair, we met so many fabulous writers and authors and celebrities.
And over the next few weeks, we're going to share some conversations we've had with them. But this was the 10th book fair, anniversary book fair, and every year it just gets bigger and bigger, and more people come, and it's just a wonderful event to sort of kick off the social, what we call down here, the social season. I stopped by for a little coffee and conversation with this man. This is Tom Hayden. And if the name sounds familiar, remember the SDS? Remember the Chicago 7? This man was all part of that scene. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you, what was it like to be an activist in the 60s?
Well, I feel like I'm an archaeological dig. You know, what decade do you want to go to? There's no answer to that question because nobody has that experience, and there's nothing like the 60s has exactly happened. Well, we were young.
How would you compare the Occupy Wall Street movements around the country to the movements to end the Vietnam War? Because that was the focus, and everybody said, okay, we understand what it's about. And here, everybody's saying, what is this movement about? Do you understand what it's about?
Yeah, I don't understand people who say what this is about. It seems almost pathological to me, almost a form of psychological loss of bearings. If you don't know that this movement is about trying to confront and end the practices on Wall Street, I can't help you. I have no idea what the problem is. It would take a moron to say they don't have specific demands because or a FBI agent, because once you get specific, you divide into smaller groups. So
exactly,
they're making a general protest against the general state of the economy and the lack of any government response thus far. It's different than the 60s because in the 50s and 60s, there was a broader middle class, and there was a reasonable expectation, even if you were barred from it by racial reasons, that you would somehow break through and become part of the middle class. But since 1973, the middle class has been under tremendous stress, people doubling up to make what one person previously made, requiring two people's incomes and so on. And now this younger generation, which is in the encampments, they are facing economic disenfranchisement, just as blacks in the South faced political disenfranchisement. They can't get into the future.
You've had a very untraditional life. You know, you've been in the spotlight for a long time, and then you sort of disappeared. Are you making a comeback? Is there a place for Tom Hayden in this new movement that's coming forward? And if not, where do we find the next Tom Hayden?
I don't like the spotlight, and the spotlight chooses me. You don't, and they choose you for a reason, because there's some particular historic moment or crisis, and they meaning the media, wants to select somebody that can speak in sound bites or speaks eloquently and seems to represent the new movement. And then afterwards, you used an interesting phrase, disappeared. I never disappeared. I'm the same person, always the same person. Spotlight disappeared, that's all. And I would strongly advise against selecting anybody to be the leader of this movement. It's just toxic and irrational to think that this movement has to have a leader to go forward.
Do you think America learned anything from the protest movements of the 60s?
Yeah.
And what is it you think they learned?
Well, I'm a big believer in the creation and the maintenance of norms, what we call norms. That is, codes of conduct that are not like laws, but have great force, that keep people on the street from fighting each other over the cost of a book today. The norms of behavior. These norms of no more Vietnams, no more executive secrecy, no more, official credibility gaps. These norms are the great outcome. That's why opposition to wars begins on a higher plane than it would have in the 50s. My dad was of a generation that just believed whatever the government said.
Yeah, they said, my country, right or wrong, my country, you know.
It's almost the reverse now. Whatever the government says, the truth has to be the opposite.
Exactly.
It's gone too far in the other direction, perhaps, but that's the resource that the anti-war movement draws on.
And I think it's spilling over and is becoming part of this movement because if nothing else is happening, the truth is coming out. And
the truth is not only coming out, but it's becoming harder to lie.
Yeah. And you know that old saying, the truth always sets you free.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know.
But certainly, I would hope that lies get you put in jail.
I hope so. Well, thank you very much.
Okay,
this was very good.
I found the interview that you did with Tom Hayden absolutely thrilling. I mean, little did he know, of course, little did very many people know, but he was really my hero.
Why?
In the 60s, because he was able to galvanize enough people to actually protest and end or bring to an end the war in Vietnam. He made it all known. He had a passion that so many people my age just sat on the sidelines and watched. We all wanted it to happen, but he really made it happen. And to me, that was thrilling.
Well, Tom Hayden was my hero, but for a completely different reason.
Yeah.
He married Barbarella.
Exactly.
And she was the perfect woman.
Anyway, Tom Hayden's interview, a longer interview, is also on syndicatednews.net. So if you want to hear more of him and Stuart talking, please go to that interview.
La collaboración. Wait, let me try it again. La collaborazione. You know, the Italian language is so great. La collaborazione. And that's the title of this little segment. La collaborazione. Did I pronounce that right?
La collaborazione.
Okay. That is an amazing word. And what that is, it's a collaboration between one of the most important fashion houses in the world and a South Beach icon and artist by the name of Noel. You didn't start out as a painter.
No.
You were a dancer. When did you know, I want to be a dancer? What was your influence?
My influence was actually that the ballet school was in my house. My mother was a dancer. My grandmother was the official coach for the opera in Havana. Yeah, my dad was a photographer and painter as well. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I was brought up in an artistic family from both sides.
But you took everything to another level, because I know you do costume design and you do set designs, and that all had to come from your roots.
Oh, yes.
When you were young to see all of that.
Growing up in a theatrical family and being, you know, when you go to school to be a ballet dancer, you become professional from the get-go, from the very beginning. Because you have to, it's just too strict of a profession, then you have to be serious. Because if you're not a good student, you're never going to go into the company.
Dancers are basically athletes, and they have those golden years when their body does everything at once, and then as we get older, they have to move on to something else. Was this an easy move from a dancer to set designs to becoming an artist?
No, really.
Or did you, go kicking and screaming, I still want to dance?
Oh yeah, I was forced to retire because I dislocated my right knee. And at the same time, as you say, unfortunately, as a dancer, especially the male, have a very short life. So I was 29 and a half when this happened, which for a male is the beginning of the end. the recovery from the operation that I needed to have to go on. It was going to be too intense, so I said, you know what, this is it. That's it. No more ballet, no more dance. And it was quite traumatizing and intense. But the transition, what happened was I always was able to draw and paint. It was kind of like my hobby. When I retired from ballet, I was forced to close what I call my actual life up to that moment. So painting became a necessity to let my creativity out, because this one was literally gone overnight.
Well, you know, there's that old adage, is one door closes, another one opens.
Exactly.
And painting opened the door that brought you to this collaboration.
Yeah, oh yes. It was.
Now, why don't you explain a little bit about who the people are that you're collaborating with?
I'm collaborating, and this has to be very clear, because I'm collaborating with Umberto Gucci and the Gucci family, the originators of the icon fashion
House of Gucci.
The House of Gucci.
This is Umberto Gucci, and when you say the name Gucci, that is synonymous with style and class and one of the top fashion houses of the world. And if you're still not familiar with Gucci, take a look at pictures of Audrey Hepburn and Grace Kelly and Jackie Onassis. And these women wore or carried a Gucci in every photograph almost every photograph I've ever seen.
You're right.
And this gentleman's grandfather brought that company here to the United States, where in the 70s it was even celebrated in disco music.
That's correct.
Where they that. And then the family had some stormy years, and they came back, and now the Gucci brand is as good and as hot as ever. What do you account for the resiliency of the Gucci name?
Explain the success of the Gucci's. That's very difficult, because it's you know, it's a combination of several elements, as you know. Creativity, incredible passion in doing the things, and of course, you know, to be always updated, you know, but never renounce to the tradition.
Explain to us why you're here and how you hooked up with Noel and made this event into something really special.
This, of course, it's a real private event, because it belongs to me, my creativity, personal creativity. I met Noel just 1 year ago, and you know, it was so natural to speak as two creative people, you know, to speak about arts and beauty and etc. And it was some natural consequence to do something together. I mean, we said, what's up? Because, you know, something like a metaphysical, you know, a mentality like an artist, and a physical mentality like me, like in creating the things, you know, very material things. And it was nice to match this different point of view, you know, about arts, the concept of arts and the beauty. And we say, why we don't try to make something together, you know, and put in your arts, you know, and your meaning about how you think about the beauty and mine, and see what's up.
Like, for example, in the horse paintings, I'm using the actual leather that it was used for the equestrian stuff, with the horse bead, which then became the accessories for the bags and the shoes. You know, the Gucci beads, which are very well known. So it's really it's a you know, like I say, it's an homage to the family through my work.
It's a collaboration of two expressions, you know, different expression, and the result is a kind of a three-dimensional, you know, expression. That's it, and it's nice.
And I want to thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time.
It was a real pleasure.
This was really entertaining. Thank you.
Thank you, you too. Thanks a lot.
And so this comes to the end of another show. I'm Dina Stewart.
And I'm Stuart Stewart. And we're live on South Beach for syndicatednews.net.